how the movement is in Valorant. But that's kind of my breakdown for me of
wait, say Valorant again.
Valorant.
You're saying Valorant.
Valorant.
Valorant. YouTube, how the fuck you doing? Hey guys, Nadeshot today. I'm bringing a brand new video. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. I am joined by Jack Kurt Dunlop, the legend himself. And we are here today to talk about Valorant, the first game, right, has ever produced outside the League of Legends universe. A brand new FPS, unlike any I've seen before. Well, it's actually very similar to CSGO. and that's where this conversation is going to start. We're playing a brand new competitive shooter, and I've had so much fun thus far, and I just want to talk about the game.
Right off the bat, if I'm a viewer and I'm tuned in and I haven't had the chance to play the game yet, I haven't gotten access to the closed beta, first thing I'm going to say is this. If you want to fast track your way to being good at Valorant, here are my simple steps. 1, play Counter-Strike. Global offensive on your PC. Understand how the movement works. Understand how the shooting works. 2, watch top streamers and their gameplay and see who specializes with the different agents and be like, oh, that's how you can perform better on, let's say, Sage with her wall and use cheeky little spots. That's how I can play better on Jett while making sure to pick up a double kill and then remembering that I can dash to the side or hop her ultimate and float through the air and hit people. That's how I should use Phoenix's ultimate, where he can run on through and basically get killed and come back to life again. Making sure you are studied up on the agents and their abilities and polished in your Counter-Strike aiming and map knowledge will be super key for getting into Valorant off the start.
I agree with Jack. I would say that the movement and the shooting mechanics aren't exactly one for one with CSGO, but it is the closest comparison that you can actually make. Like the slow walking so that you're not making footsteps, taking out your knife so that you can move faster. There's obviously no sprinting. I think the difference that you see with Valorant is that the majority of the weapons you can ADS with, whereas in CSGO, there's only 2 weapons you can. The economy is very similar to where some rounds you cannot go balls to the wall and buy the most expensive assault rifle and the most expensive sniper. You have to invest. Like, you won't even buy shields, and you just have to understand that you're probably going to lose this round because you have to invest in your economy for the next upcoming rounds and cut your losses. I think the biggest thing for me from an aiming perspective, I think that's where the biggest difference is, just because in my time playing the game thus far, I feel like the recoil patterns aren't as consistent as CSGO, where I know that they are, but it doesn't feel that way. I mean, the guns shoot the same way every single time, but in my experience, the AK equivalent on Valorant does not feel like the AK on CSGO. I feel like I'm missing shots that I wouldn't miss on CSGO, or maybe the hitboxes feel different. I just haven't felt totally comfortable in the shooting mechanic, and I know that's going to come with time, and it's going to take familiarity of just experience. But right off the rip, if you are a veteran on CSGO and you're still whiffing some situations, or you're missing a kill that you think you would have gotten on CSGO, I feel the same way. Take your time. It'll come with hopefully the future.
See, the way I break it down so far for me is on Valorant, I feel like the bullets are more forgiving when I'm using, let's say, the Vandal, which is in my opinion, the AK equivalent. I always burst fired a lot. Not burst, like I would like tap, you know, a couple shots with my AK. And in CS, if I was holding an angle, I feel like most of the time I would struggle to hit that one tap or get that instant headshot. Like, I'd miss, have to reposition, re-peek, and then get the guy. Whereas in Valorant, I feel like way more consistently, if I'm aiming at my spot and I shoot, it's almost like the head hitbox is a little bit more forgiving and gives you the headshot, or the way a burst recoil is, the first few shots are even more accurate, so you get away with kind of making sure your aim is as centered as possible. Whereas for my end, I feel like when I use the operator, which is, I guess you'd say, the equivalent of the op from Counter-Strike, the operator for me is so much more challenging to use than the op is in CS. And again, maybe that goes back to the hitboxes of how the characters feel or how the movement is in Valorant. But that's kind of my breakdown for me of
wait, say Valorant again.
Valorant.
You're saying Valorant.
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 It's Valorant.
I know it's Valorant, but
Valorant.
in my mind, I think it's supposed to be pronounced Valorant. It's not important. I mean, it sort of is, but it's not important, I guess, right now. But it's important to me.
Valorant.
The other thing that I want to, yeah, there you go. That's not a lot better. What I want to talk about is the abilities that you guys see in a lot of these trailers and what you're seeing on the beta, people streaming it, and the YouTube videos. Yep. So in CSGO, you have flashes and you have stuns, you have decoy grenades, and you have Molotovs that produce fire on the ground and will do damage to the player if you're standing in it. Basically, all the abilities that a lot of these agents have are very similar. They're not overpowering in the sense that you're going to consistently kill teams with these abilities. I would say Jett is one of the few that she brings out her blades and she throws them and they deal damage and you can kill. But most abilities in this game actually handle very similar to flashes and smokes and stuns, is that they're only there to give you an advantage from like a sight perspective, blocking lanes, and really inhibiting the other team from having visibility to you or where you want them to not be able to see. Yep. So I don't think they're overpowered individually, but what I will say is I've been flashed in CSGO before, but nowhere have I ever experienced what happens if a team on Valorant together, if they coordinate all their abilities at one bomb site. It is like, holy fuck, how am I going to retake this site? How am I going to kill anybody? You'll see a smoke screen, poison from Viper, you're gonna get fire from Phoenix, you got smokes from Breach. I mean, all hell is breaking loose in this tiny bomb site, and you're thinking to myself, I'm not gonna be able to do anything of any value here for my team. So that's one thing I'm afraid of. I think pro teams are going to get very good, and pro players are going to get very good at knowing where to throw their abilities, how to use them, and it's going to be really tough for teams to function and to react to that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be super interesting, to say the least. It's like when you look at like Cypher, for example, the one that can place down the invisible traps and has cameras up on the wall, is going to be. I think, you know, when I look at like who the meta agents will be off the break, immediately that comes to mind Phoenix. Like the fact that he can be a free entry fragger for your team. Phoenix pops his ultimate. Yes, everyone hears it, but I'm wondering how people will react to that. I feel like Sage is going to be super important in shutting down a player like Phoenix, where if your Sage is there on defense to be at the same bomb site as Phoenix, let's say Phoenix goes to run in, Sage can then wall him off, and hopefully in the time that it takes him to break that wall, Phoenix's ultimate runs out and it's useless. Or Phoenix ults on in, goes to the entry. Let's say Phoenix is able to get the entry frag. Sage has her ultimate to, you know, bring someone back to life. So for me, immediately off the break of like meta agents, I have Phoenix, I have Sage. You know, Jett's ultimate for me, while I love Jett, I wonder how meta she will be, just because of her ult. It can be so hit or miss feeling for the most part. I do think Viper will be meta just because of how good her ult is at holding down a site, as well as the ability to lift and close that poison wall of hers. Is, we saw Noah doing it. It is so disgustingly good. Cypher as well, the ability to shut down flanks, like just on a map that has 3 bomb sites, but 2 of the bomb sites to flank one of them has 1 lane, to give your team the peace of mind that that lane is watched without having to watch it, and you have a camera as well as 2 invisible traps there. Let's say you're going A site on Haven. Dude, you take A site, you flood the site, and all you have to do now is watch Heaven and that entry door from their side, and then you have Cypher with the cameras on your back that give you more than enough time to know you need to turn and look at it. You now have 5 people being able to watch 2 things if you take the site cleanly. And at that point, it's so sick. So I think that I think that you're going to really quickly see of the agents who floats the top in meta, and then also people begin to specialize in certain agents even more than other games. What
I'm really afraid of, and the more I keep thinking about it, are the abilities. I just want to know. I think in my mind, Riot has internally been play testing this with their employees for probably the last year, or definitely the last few months. And now we're moving into the beta and you have a lot of people playing. What I really think is they haven't had enough people coordinated as a team in their random matchmaking throughout the day that can coordinate together like a professional team will. I played one game over the weekend, and I think it was against Noah J and a bunch of other different creators that are really good at FPS. And they used every single ability to take B-bomb. And these are abilities that aren't expensive, abilities that are less expensive than pistols. So you can have pretty much all of your abilities from an economy standpoint almost every single round if you have the budget. And I really think that teams are going to figure out really quickly, like you said, what characters float to the top from a meta perspective and how to block off sites and how to plant bombs and lines of sight. I think it's going to get really sweaty really quickly and can become frustrating for players. I really need to see it unfold, but I think we covered quite a bit, to be honest.
For sure. I think my last finishing thoughts will be, I'm really interested to see if there almost begins to get a counterplay in the game. Like, what would competitive look like? Will there be a draft phase? Also, you know, will it be something, as I mentioned, of like, hey, Sage, you are facing off against wherever Phoenix goes on these maps. You know, if they pick a jet, we're picking a this, or something like that. Will that come into play?
Counter picks, yeah, for sure.
And what is the plan for future agents to be released? Because, you know, they're not stopping at however many they have right now. Overall, very excited for the future of Valorant. Hopefully, you guys tune into mine and Matt's streams with it, because I'm gonna be nuts at the game. I already am.
Yeah, I want to play Valorant just like Jack. I want to play Valorant, guys. I love Valorant, and I can't wait to play it. Valorant. No, I'm really excited. I think CS:GO has proven it's a timeless game that can really keep a player base strong within you know, over a decade, coming up on 2 decades. And I think Valorant can be similar. I'm excited to see what other maps they have for us. I'm excited to see what the meta and the play will look like between high-level players. And I'm excited to play it as well. I can't wait to stream it on twitch.tv/Nadeshot. Jack can't wait to stream it on youtube.com/CouRageJD. And that's really all I have to say about that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a fantastic day in YouTube. We'll see you fudging later. Bye.